Hi.
Hello, hello.
How are you doing?
I am good. I'm good. How are you?
Surviving. So we'll get
Yeah,
there. Yeah, allergy season because it's 80 degrees in Florida, so the pollen doesn't know what to do.
that's a lot.
It is.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm excited about this case, so I needed this tonight. Let's see who's here. We've got Livewire. Cheers, Mike Stahl.
Oh, nice. Hi, Mike.
And then Lil is here and Sugar Kitty.
Oh, hey, Lilith.
Let's see. Scott Pigsley's here saying cheers.
Cheers, Scott.
Mike Franklin, hello. Libation Exploration. Cheers.
Oh, cheers. Hey, Tito. It's nice seeing you.
The one and only Cheech Ardolino is joining
Hey,
us.
Cheech.
So I hope everybody got a chance to see the video for the cocktail that Jen posted. Maybe some of you are even drinking along with us. Experience whiskey, old guy. Cheers.
Cheers. Glad you're here, Barry.
Oh, then we have Noah, Lone Wanderer 360, coming from Washington. How are you?
Uh, Cheers, Noah.
John T is here. And the ever beautiful Mr. Whiskey Shits Lady is here.
PR
Glad you
Sam.
joined us. See our
Cheers.
fancy cocktail. Dan B is here.
Oh, hey, Dano.
Cheers, Gloria Stone Cipher. Glad you came tonight. Haven't seen you in chat before.
Cheers.
I might love her a little bit. Bayou Drams. I know this one well. I was working for La Farouche. I'm going to butcher them all tonight. At the time that this was going down. So right after Hurricane Katrina.
Oh, wow. Well, that's awesome. Glad you're here.
Kathy Joe is here. Cheers, Kathy Joe. She just
Cheers.
won a challenge coin from
Yes.
our channel.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Congrats. I hope you enjoy that.
And we got Clifton
Hey,
and Jerry
Clifton.
Black.
Hey,
The
Jerry.
beautiful Adriana from Whiskey Mountains. Cheers.
Oh, hey, Adriana. Awesome to see you.
Oh, we got the Bourbon Wrench.
Oh, hey, Trev.
So Sugar Kitty says, I saw that comment on the notice of the stream. Sugar Kitty has a cousin from which is one of the locations that it was involved. So it
Wow.
sounds like you guys are familiar with this case a little bit.
That's awesome.
I hadn't heard of it much until I really started digging into it. So I am excited to share it with you guys. Bayou Drams from the area
Oh, from Tibble.
might
Nice.
have some stuff to add in chat later, I'm assuming. Here's
Absolutely.
Independent Joe.
Cheers.
Okay, so tonight is the Bayou Strangler case. Ronald Dominique, and this happened down in Louisiana right after Hurricane Katrina. So, yes, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. We do have our Patreon that you're welcome to check out.
Please do.
So we did make a video. It is in the description. If you want to click on that, you can see the cocktail that Jen featured. Can I just say that I'm so impressed with her video? I'm going to have to step up my video game here, I think. So please check that out. If any of the mods have that link and want to drop it in chat, it's short enough. You could jump out real quick, check it out. Is there anyone in chat that did get the ingredients and decided to sip along with us tonight? Let me know. Throw a little comment in there.
Absolutely.
Jen, do you want to explain our cocktail?
Sure. So, I look everywhere for cocktails. So I found the Ward 8. I like looking at classic cocktails because it's, this, I guess, the springboard to what we drink now. So I like to see what they came up with, way back in the day. So this one actually came out in 1898, which I thought was awesome. And it's at a restaurant. Unfortunately, it's no longer there, but it was really cool. So I thought it had a cool backstory. Cheech was actually able to find the pictures for it. He did edit the video, so thank you, Cheech, for helping us. It does help the channel, so thank you. We appreciate that. It's actually a very simple cocktail. There's only 4 ingredients and your garnish. And the garnish looks fancy, but it's really easy once you do it. It makes it look very, very nice, and it's just an easy step for you. But definitely look at the video. If you didn't make it today, definitely give it a shot. It is a tasty drink. I enjoyed it. When I tasted it, Cheech actually tasted it. He's not really a cocktail person, and he didn't mind it as much, so I'll take that as a win on that aspect of it. So all you need is 4 ounces of rye whiskey. You can use regular bourbon if you don't like rye. I chose the Sazerac rye, which I really enjoy. And then it's 2 ounces of orange juice, 2 ounces of lemon juice, a splash of grenadine, and then just shake it and pour it over ice. And then you have your orange wedge and your cherries. I choose Luxardo cherries because those are my favorite. They've gone up immensely in price. I was sad to see that, but they're very tasty. Mine has a little more grenadine in it because I kind of made it quickly before I came back here. But it does taste very good. I do enjoy it. It's very refreshing. So you can have it anytime. It's definitely whenever your citrus is in. Living in the South, we usually have it all the time, basically. So I definitely like citrus cocktails. So definitely give it a shot and let me know what you think. There was some good comments on the videos of people that have either had it or actually going to try it. So I look forward to seeing those comments and see if you guys have tried it or not. So cheers.
Cheers. So I used the Starlight Rye. Cheers, Bubble Bath Bourbon. I did see you in there. Thank you for joining us. Darrell Stewart.
Oh, cheers.
My wonderful husband, William.
Cheers, Will.
Mark Evernecker, who was the mega merch pack winner of our fundraiser that we did for the Casa Advocates.
Yes, he had a very nice, fancy picture of the Women of Whiskey's rocks glass. So that was very nice.
Yeah, that was nice. I appreciate that. Okay, so, oh, look, Old Man Joe is here. Cheers, Old Man Joe, and Biking Bourbon. Let's see if I think we're pretty much there. Okay, Mark, whoops, that's not it. Mark Eminecker asks, what is the beverage? So it is the Ward 8. Yes. So the video is in the description. I didn't see in the chat that anyone was drinking it with us. It sounds like Nick let Adriana down on that one. He was supposed to be the ingredients. So shame on you, Nick. Okay. So, yes, Nicholas, definitely go back and check out the cocktail video.
Yes, please do. Give us your thoughts.
Okay. So, Jen, do you want to go through the case summary for us?
Absolutely. So as Michelle stated, we are doing the Ronald Dominique, the Bayou Strangler case. He has taken ownership of 23 murders. He only pled guilty to 8 of them just because he didn't want the death penalty. His action dates are from 1997 to 2006. And a lot of the reasons that people haven't heard a lot about the case was because of Hurricane Katrina, and because it was also in that same area, it didn't get as much media play because there was so much other things going on. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't a lot of articles that went in on this. It's very limited. You had to do some digging on it, but it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was hard to get some info on that.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Like I said, I actually hadn't heard much about it. And so when I started digging in at first, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't find much at all. But once you really start looking, it comes out. So, all right. So let's get into this a little bit, guys. Ronald Dominique, he was born in 1964 in January. And I'm going to refer to my notes because you know me, I always like to get the facts straight. So his parents were, lower income. They lived in a trailer outside of town, kind of a rural area. And he had just the one older sister, and his 2 parents, they were laborers. And because he was, lower income, and he was a little overweight, struggled, with his weight. He was known to be kind of melancholy. So he got bullied. He got bullied a lot, pretty severely. He finally, right before he graduated in 1983, he came to the conclusion that he was in fact gay. So he would frequent this local gay bar. And, like I said, it's kind of a smaller town. So his classmates found out about it. And then it became really bad bullying. And from what I found, it seemed like it was pretty physical for that matter. Is that what you came up with, Jen?
Yes.
Yeah. Like I said, it was kind of hard. You had to dig through a lot of the facts to get a little bit about him. He did go to Nicholls State University for a bit. He didn't graduate, but he was able to keep a lot of labor jobs. Unfortunately, he couldn't keep them for very long. So he bounced around. He had a bad attitude. He kept getting in trouble. And so he finally just was like kind of living with his mom, living with his sister, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he was jumping from place to place quite a bit.
He
He
was.
would wear out his welcome.
He was. I just got a message because I always forget something. So, welcome to Women of Whiskeys. We are doing a giveaway tonight, and I almost forgot. So, tonight we are going to give away a Henry McKenna, and this is the 10-year. In order to get into the drawing, all you have to do is every $5 that you donate, and my mods will drop those links for PayPal and Venmo. It's also in the description. Every $5 that you donate to help the channel keep running, that gets you an entry. So $5 is one, $10 is two. Just tag Livewire Whiskey in the chat. Tell him how many entries you're in for. He's tracking for us tonight. Mike, thank you for tracking for us tonight. And at the end of the stream, he'll randomize those names and someone will win this bottle of Henry McKenna. And thank you for the reminder.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. So with that, back to it. Cheers, Big Vic. I did see you pop in. Okay. So he was like living with mom, living with sister, basically not supporting himself, couch surfing a little bit. And then in 1985, he was arrested for sexual harassment by telephone. Were you able, Jen, to figure out exactly what that was? I couldn't find any details on that other than he was fined $75 and that was it.
There wasn't a lot on it. It was more just almost like heavy breathing kind of deal. And then saying some pretty crass things, but they really didn't go into detail of how that charge even came about. But he just got hit with a fine and they're just like, hey, don't do it again, and kind of just left it alone. But there wasn't a lot of information on that. That was the first time I've seen someone be charged with harassment for the phone. But
I mean, that's kind of a weird one. I mean, I don't know that, I've seen like, hey, guess what? You were heavy breathing on the phone and we're actually going to charge you and fine you. So I saw something. I apologize. We have someone new in the chat. Whiskey Blender. It is Nancy Fraley in the chat. Welcome, Nancy. Thank you for stopping in, checking out our true crime and cocktails here.
Yes. Cheers. Thank you so much for being here. We definitely appreciate it.
So I still haven't seen that anybody made the Ward 8. You're missing out because it looks sweet and it's really not. It's kind of tart.
I like them.
Okay. So he got arrested. He got fined $75. No big deal. He's still kind of being a vagrant. And then nothing really happens much until 1994. He gets arrested for drunk driving. Okay. So they're like, we'll just give you a fine. There's no go down to the police station. There's none of that. He just gets fined some money and goes on his way. Because, I mean, really, 1990s, they weren't getting real hard on the drunk driving yet.
No.
So, 1996, a couple years later, he was arrested for sexual assault. And this is an odd one. So his neighbors, let me see if I get this right. They told authorities that a partially dressed man jumped out of the second-story window of his house. Claimed that he had been assaulted by him and that he tried to kill him. So this went on. They start, okay, now we're really looking at this guy. This is crap. And unfortunately, by the time they got around to bringing it to court, they couldn't find the witness anymore. Nope, everybody just clammed up. The victim was gone, so nothing came of it. No trouble for that one either,
No.
really. Aiden, you can get arrested for heavy breathing. He's going to jail.
Yeah. I guess,
Stop
back
it.
in the 80s and 90s, I guess you could be arrested for that.
Right.
But yeah, it's pretty weird. The one that for the sexual assault looked good because, the neighbors are like, this is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you don't have a victim, you can't bring charges. He actually got into another scuffle with a lady in a parking lot during Mardi Gras,
Yeah.
where she was in a parking lot and I guess driving very erratically and hit an empty baby stroller. So luckily there wasn't a baby in there. Yay. So he stopped her car, yelled at her, like told her she was a really shitty driver, like you could have killed someone. And he was like, you need to apologize. She said sorry, and he hauled off and cold cocked her in the face.
Yeah. Like, I'm so
After she
sorry.
apologized.
My goodness.
So of course, he was arrested for assault, and they came to a agreement, and he made restitution to her, and so charges were dropped because restitution was made, and then he was just off the radar.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that there's, as usual with these cases, there's so many times we're like, how is he not in trouble? I mean, I don't know. But, that's how it goes, it seems like. I saw Richie Z in here. Cheers, Richie Z.
Cheers,
And
Richie.
Bourbon Baller's here. He's saying cheers.
Nice. Cheers, Bourbon Baller. Glad you're here.
And I don't know, did I say hi to Old Man Joe? I don't know that I did. Hello, Old Man Joe. I love seeing you in our
Glad
chat.
you're here.
Okay. So yeah, he assaults this woman, and then I don't know what kind of agreement they came to on the end. I'm assuming it was some kind of monetary,
some kind of money figure.
Yeah.
But they really didn't go into it. They just said they made an agreement of restitution. He did all the requirements of the restitution, so all charges were dropped and everything was dismissed. So there was nothing there for them to see.
So that's around that time. Then in 1997, in July, there's the first actual victim that he kills. So 19-year-old David Mitchell in 1997, he'd been hitchhiking 2 days prior to that, coming back from his grandma's house where he'd been at a birthday party for a family member. And then his body was found 2 days later. That was his first victim. And from there, it just goes downhill. So December of 97, 20-year-old Gary Pierre, he was found clothed with no signs of physical trauma, no drugs in his system. And they know that he had a history of drugs. So they're assuming that something along those lines got them where they needed to be. And at this point, they're not linking these together as a serial killer. It's just a couple of bodies that have turned up over a period of time. So roughly 9 months later, July of 1998, 38-year-old Larry Ranson. Now, he was the first of Ronald's victims that was found bound.
Yes.
So he was bound, assaulted, killed, and then found. And so now they're starting to go, I still don't think these are related because they're all looking different. Then also in 1998, 16-year-old Joseph Brown, 18-year-old Bruce Williams, and 27-year-old Oliver LeBancs were killed. So traces of DNA was found on LeBancs during the autopsy, So now we're getting a body pile up. Um, and do you know, Jen, kind of when they started to piece together this could be a serial killer?
So they started piecing it together because the last three victims in 98 all knew each other. So they were around town, they had hung out together, they were well known that they had been together. So they started to look at things of, okay, we're having a problem here. It's all in the same area, it's kind of all of the same MO of the same person. Maybe we need to take a look at that. But they didn't really know who they were going to go with because, you know, DNA had not been sent off. They didn't have anyone to, put it against because Dominique had never been had his DNA taken. So they had
Mm-hmm.
nothing to put it up against. So even with them taking it and putting it through, you don't have anything to put it up against. So they have a sample, but they don't have anything until, way later. But they started to think that there would be a connection just because these three people lived the kind of same lifestyle and they were found in the same way.
Right. Okay. I was because I knew that at some point they turned it over to the feds, but I wasn't sure when they started to kind of pick up on that.
Mm-hmm.
This was a really hard case to find exact dates on, and you had to really compare a lot of different sources to piece it
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. It was a lot of digging.
Um, so, and if I got this right, that was a bunch of victims in 1998. Then in 1999, we have 21-year-old Angel Mejia, 34-year-old Mitchell Johnson, and 21-year-old Manuel Reed that were killed. But again, DNA traces were found on a body and they were to an unknown male.
Correct.
And you got to remember that back then, just, I mean, this is only in 1998, late 90s. They still didn't have the sophisticated DNA systems that they have now. So I think even if they would have had his on file, you're still kind of 50-50 if they're going to piece it together.
Right. And he was also dumping these bodies in different parishes. And each one has their own police department. So you have other people that need to work together. So if one parish takes DNA and another one takes DNA, it's not going to read together. It's just going to show that they both have unknown DNA samples.
Yeah, because this is back before all the computer systems were talking to each other, and they're opening filing cabinets to look for this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so we've gone up to 1999 now. So he's been busy just in a couple of years. In January of 2000, they found 23-year-old Michael Vincent. They found him strangled. And then October of 2000, 20-year-old Kenneth Randolph Jr., he was lured, if I remember, he was lured with the promise of drugs and to have sex with a girl. He's like, hey,
Yes.
you want to come to my trailer, do a little drugs, have a little sex with this girl I have there. Come on over.
Yeah, so that guy actually was a known pedophile in the area as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah.
So he knew by stating that he had the underage girl at his trailer and just, come over or whatever and we'll party. He knew that was going to be like hook, line, and sinker because that's what his, sickness
Yeah.
is. So,
Yeah. So,
so he used whatever excuse it was going to be. Even though he was gay, he did not look for men that were gay. Like he went to gay bars every now and then, but it was someone that he found attractive either when he was driving his truck, someone that he saw from his trailer. And it didn't matter if you're gay, if you're straight, it didn't matter. He was a predator. So that's what he went to. So he would use whatever it was just to lure you to get you to do what he wanted.
right. He was more of a what how can I get in? How can I get them to trust me? And then it's not like let's party and then things went bad. It was off the hook the minute he got him in the door or got him where he wanted. So so he did strangle the pedophile.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Anyway, and we could say alleged, but I mean, this guy.
He had a
Anyway,
rap sheet.
who am I to judge the pedophile?
Absolutely, Nancy. It's amazing just how far crime solving has advanced as DNA profiling technology has progressed. And you are absolutely correct. It is amazing what we're able to do now. The familia DNA that we're able to do cold cases with now. It is absolutely amazing what is going to be able to do for people that don't have that closure.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that is one thing that's kind of Jen's specialty on this is she's really into that DNA and the crime scene investigation. And we're going to be starting to drop some content on some of the recently solved cold cases because that's kind of her jam. And
Yes.
she kind of blows me away the way she can find stuff in there. I don't know how you find that crap, but
it's rabbit holes. It's the same thing on any topic you can find. You just have to keep clicking links and looking where people have sourced their information and digging from there. There are other websites out there that also house old newspaper articles and scripts from the court and things like that, and which is a really good resource. So it's there. You just gotta dig. It's just like with anything that you find interesting and you take on and really dig into. And it's just that there wasn't much hope for people that didn't have 30, 40 years ago, and now they're getting solved. So I think it's pretty special because they're able to close these cases for the families as well. So I think it is something that should be kind of highlighted.
Yeah. Cheers, Zachary Jones. I'm glad you're here.
Cheers, Zach.
Okay, so Tim Robertson says he was a crime scene investigator, evidence custodian for 2 years.
That's awesome.
I would love to hear those stories.
Right?
Just saying.
Those have to be interesting.
Okay, but honestly, I don't know if I would. I like being able to sleep at night, so
takes a special kind of person.
So so we've killed the pedophile, and now we're on to in 2002, Ronald and his sister moved to rural Bayou Blue. You know better than to have me pronouncing these words. So this is a really small community, but he got a job checking electricity labels. And so he was able to travel all around these remote areas of the city. And that's an important fact because that gave him more free time to do his hobby, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, he was definitely out looking.
So October of 2002, 26-year-old Anoka Jones and 19-year-old Daytrell Woods, gosh, I hope I'm not butchering their names. I'm so sorry if I am. They were strangled. Daytrell Woods and his bike were dumped in a reed field. So they weren't found actually until 2003. So by the time they found those remains, they were really decomposed. I think other than that one, they were pretty much kind of finding these bodies just a day or two after it happened.
Yeah, they were finding them pretty quickly. He wasn't really hiding them per se, like some other of the cases that we've looked at. It was kind of just, I'm going to dump them wherever. I think he started with the reed field only because they were being found so quickly and trying to, I guess, buy himself some time.
Yeah.
On other crimes.
I think he kind of didn't really have a whole lot of rhyme or reason. I don't think he was the sharpest tool in the shed. We do a lot of these cases where, they were just really good at what they did and they would tease the police or they would, and I think he just was kind of, because he was in remote areas, is really the only reason he got away as long as he did, in my opinion.
Well, that and his MO changed. Certain people would talk to him and he would be, he was looking for gay men, and then they would hear from other victims, oh, well, he's trying to lure me with, being able to have sex with women. So he didn't have, like, he went to these specific places, this specific profile of person that he was looking for. He didn't have those, and he changed that throughout his time frame when they started looking at him. So, I mean, that was one of the biggest things as well, is because he kept changing, it's very hard to be like, we need to be in these areas and we need to look at these people. Like when we look at certain cases where they're looking at, prostitutes and things like that, or sex workers, then, they're going to go to those areas and try to get information. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, with this case, because he kept changing, they didn't really have like a certain group of people to talk to try to find information.
Right. Oh, hello, James Morgan. Cheers. Glad you're here. I didn't see you in
Cheers,
there.
James. Glad you're here.
I wouldn't trust that Bayou. Okay. Well, I don't know that much about the Bayou.
No, I don't trust strangers at all.
Um, so I think at this point they're they know what's going on, but they don't have a lot to go on because these are just popping up those remote areas. What I don't know anything about that regional area, but I think of Bayou and I think of Louisiana and I think of, wasn't there better places to put these bodies? Was he just lazy? I mean, did he not care?
I just don't think he really cared because he wasn't getting caught. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing is when you do so many of these and you are getting away with it, you're not being questioned in any capacity about this. So I guess over time you get super comfortable in what you're doing and you get sloppy,
Yeah.
or you just stop caring because you feel that you have one up on the investigators and the police and everybody else,
Hmm.
and you run with that. Usually that creates a downfall because their ego will get the best of them. So we do hope for that. But yeah, so we'll get there with those, but we just have to watch it.
Okay, Sugar Kitty says, sometime there should be the true crime stories down under from Lilith Morgan. Jen
Absolutely.
and I were just talking about this today.
Today,
That's funny.
yes.
We were just saying, and I'm totally putting Lil on the spot now. We were just saying that when she's feeling a little better, that we should try to get together and do some of these crimes from Australia that we've been talking about and have her on the show and dig into it. And she could give us the Australian perspective of their legal system. I think it would just be a blast.
I absolutely agree. I would love to have Lilith on and definitely get her perspective from a crime that happened in her home country. So definitely would be totally interested in doing that. So I hope you will take us up on that, Lilith.
No pressure. Just do it.
No, not at all. I just will love it.
Oh, bubble bath. I love this. Let me see if I can find it. A dingo ate your baby. Yeah, that happened. Mm-hmm.
It does.
Oh, Lilith says, we'll totally do that.
Awesome.
Yay.
Oh, I look forward to that. Yay.
So
That'll be so
once
much
you're
fun.
feeling better and I'm all healed up, then we are
We're on.
making a date.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so back to it. So we found he killed a couple people there October of 2002. He's ramping up. February of 2002, though, he was arrested. That's when he was arrested for the Mardi Gras incident in the parking lot. So just before he killed these two other people, he's just he's an angry little guy.
He was
Angry little
very angry
guy.
that she could have like killed someone. And I think that's just the irony of it all. It's you're doing this action and
Yeah.
you punch this woman in the face because of something that could have happened, but
Yeah.
you're actually doing these actions to make it happen. So it's a weird. I don't know how they put it through their brain and how to justify that.
And I think that maybe it was a baby. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like one sinner in the gutter looking at the other one. You know, yours is worse than mine.
Yeah, no, that's possible. That's true.
I don't know.
I'll take that.
Okay, so then we take like a little break for a couple years. I don't know what that's about. So from 2002 to 2004, it's a little quiet. 2004, 21-year-old Michael Barnett, 46-year-old Larry Matthews. They're both killed. Matthews was a well-known drug addict, drug dealer locally. And he again was lured with the promise of drugs. This seems like it was kind of his MO. As I'm looking through here, there was a lot of drug addicts. There was a lot of people with criminal backgrounds. And he was like, I'll give you drugs. You come back here. Oh, by the way, I'm also going to strangle you and assault you. And that kind of seemed to be the MO. But with Matthews, he actually lost consciousness due to a drug overdose.
Yes.
And that's when he was assaulted and killed. So he was also, ironically, the first white male victim. Ronald had always killed African Americans. This was his first white victim. And I'm wondering if he planned that or not, or if he just did it because the guy OD'd. Because that's a totally different MO than what he was doing before.
I think it was just like, I mean, I don't really know. My perspective would be it was opportunity and it was there and he took it. He took a lot of risk on what he was doing. So I think that it just the opportunity presented itself and he just took it. He knew this person's weakness because he was living in a low income area. There was a lot of drug activity there. So when you live in those areas, you kind of know who the dealers are and things of that nature. So he kind of know what's going around in your community, so he kind of knew what was going on, so he kind of preyed on that. So I think it was more of an opportunity, and
Mm-hmm.
he just took
Mm-hmm.
it. I don't think he thought about outsmarting the police or anything at this point. There wasn't anything in the case studies and stuff that I read or the podcast I listened to that brought that up in
Mm-hmm.
any way that he was ever thinking that they were onto him at any point.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it was he was trying to outsmart them or put them off his trail. I just really thought it was an opportunity.
Yeah. So Bubble Bath Bourbon, Nate, he like, and we'll get to it kind of towards the end of this, but he like totally fessed up to all these, and he was only convicted of a small portion of those. Um, I was not able to find where he had talked much after. So I am curious. Like I said, this case kind of didn't get a lot of publicity, which is kind of why Jen and I wanted to do this. And honestly, the patrons in our Patreon, they were given the choice of 4 cases and they voted and they picked this case. And I'm
Yes.
really glad they did because it really made us dig in. It was hard.
Yeah,
It was
it was
good.
definitely a lot of research and clicking links and looking down and trying to find things
Yeah.
because as you'll learn when you research or look for anything, there's always going to be links that they're like, this is where I found information, and you click it and there's nothing there. So there's a lot of frustration
Or
on
there's
that end.
misinformation or yeah.
Yeah, because you have
Hey,
to
here's
watch that. You have to watch
Deathless
like
Dogs
people
is
that
in the
do
house.
the TV movies and things like that.
Mm.
People get facts mixed up with fantasy to sell a TV show or made for TV movie or a
Mm-hmm.
book, and it's not solely based on the information of the case. So you kind of have to weed through those facts to figure out what's actually needs to be stated.
So I did see Deathless Dogs in the house. I'm very glad that Dan is here with us. Okay.
Cheers.
So now we've switched demos. Now we've killed a white man at this point. I don't know how prevalent that is, only in a profiler sense. At this point, you can't get a profile on this guy because he's changing his MO
Mhm.
very frequently at this point. So just when you think you got him figured out, you don't. In 2005, there was 7 victims. And I'll run through these real quick. There was 22-year-old Leon Lorette, 31-year-old August Watkins, 23-year-old Kurt Cunningham, 28-year-old Alonzo Hogan, 17-year-old Wayne Smith, 40-year-old Chris DeVille, and 21-year-old Nicholas Pellegrin. So think about this as a profiler. You've got from 17 years old up into the 40s. You've got African American, you've got white, you've got drug addicts, you've got people with no history at all. And there's all these various parishes that bodies are being dumped in. What a logistical nightmare for investigators.
And you have to understand, like, and then after all of this, you have Katrina. So a lot of it gets lost only because there's so much going on.
Spicy and inbred Deathless Dogs sent me. Cheers. Thanks for joining us.
That is fantastic. Cheers. Spicy.
So quick recap. We are doing every fourth Wednesday of the month. We do our criminals and cocktails here. So we're drinking our Ward 8 cocktail tonight. And we are talking about the Bayou Strangler. And we are here every Wednesday. It's just the fourth Wednesday of the month we do a true crime. The rest of the time, we're just sitting back talking whiskey and having drinks with friends. So glad you're here. Also, thank you again to Livewire Whiskey Mike, who is tracking our giveaway. Every $5 to the PayPal or Venmo link gets you an entry to win a bottle of Henry McKenna. So each $5 is considered an entry at the end of the stream. Mike will announce a number and we'll randomize it. Should we get back to our case? Okay.
Absolutely.
So then October of 2006, so think of this timeline. We're back up to 2006 now. Nobody is even on this guy's scent at this point. And again, he's not holding jobs. He did get that one job that he just goes around and checks electricity. October of 2006, 27-year-old Christopher Sutterfield. Now, he had an extensive criminal record. He'd done some time. He was a bad dude. And he was the only victim that had a romantic relationship. Ronald and him, they were involved. They had feelings for each other. They were lovers since summer of 2006. So it was hot and heavy, short, from summer to October 2006. And then while they were on a date, they got into an argument, and apparently Christopher pissed him off, and Ronald cracked him over the head and killed him.
Yes.
Don't date a serial killer.
No.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, that was the only person that he knew that he had killed through his crime span.
Yeah.
That's pretty
so, so at that point, so we're up to October of 2006. He's not on anybody's radar. And then in November.
Yes. So November of 2006, we have Mr. Ricky Wallace. And he came into the police station stating that Ronald had lured him to his trailer in mid-2006 with an offer to do drugs and have sex with a girl. And once Ricky had declined to let Ronald tie him up and was able to leave with his life, police were skeptical. They're like, we don't know how true this is. Ricky was also a known drug addict, so they didn't know how to take the information that they were giving. So they did ask, hey, why don't you just give us a sample? We'll go from there. So the police did go talk to Ronald. They're like, hey, let's go check this out anyway. We don't know what's going on, but it is a really weird story. Let's go check it out. So they go, and Ronald's at the trailer. Oh, no.
I'm sorry, Bubble Bath Bourbon. We did not mean to be a trigger of the clown killer.
Absolutely not. So they go talk to Ronald. Ronald's like, hey, it was a consensual thing. I thought, we were going to have this threesome with this girl. He didn't want to, so he left, no crime, no foul type of deal. So the police are like, yeah, that sounds kind of fishy. Can we have your blood? Can we have your DNA? And Ronald's like, sure, why not? Because at this point, he's just like, oh, it's just this one guy that's going to the police stating, hey, this happened. I can get around it kind of deal. Because he had only had like fines, like drunk driving. So there wasn't anything in his past that would point to it. So he gave him a sample, like no problem, no attorney, nothing, gave it to him without a problem. So the police did their due diligence and they did run it, and it did show that Ronald was the person of the DNA sample traces that were on the bodies of Mr. LeBanks and Manuel Reed. So once that came out, of course, they were able to get an arrest warrant for Ronald. So they looked for him. Of course, he was not at his sister's trailer where he had been working. He was not at work. So they actually tracked him down at a homeless shelter December 1st of 2006. So it was only like a month between the time that they had spoke to him, got the sample, and arrested him for those two murders specifically, because it was in that specific parish.
Just those two, right?
Just those two.
Yeah. But they kind of had a thought that he was like in cahoots, or were they not putting the pieces together yet?
They weren't. So the only thing that they were looking at was, okay, well, we have 2 DNA matches. We know he killed these 2 people. So we're going to bring him in. We're going to talk to him and see what it is. And he didn't really like put up a fight. He didn't like ask for an attorney. He didn't say he didn't do anything. Even about those 2, he just readily confessed to 23 murders and giving them detail. So it was everything that had happened without admitting guilt. Yeah. So that was his thing. So he was saying that it was all consensual. These are people that came over, they had done drugs, they had partied together, and, you know, they either OD'd or when they were, you know, using bondage and things, they like died accidentally. There was all of these different excuses that he was trying to come up with to take it away, saying that he was the murderer. He's like, yes, I was there and this happened, but it wasn't murder per se. So he really didn't want to tell them that he did these. He said that the victims just agreed to it because they needed money. A lot of these men that he had been with was people that did have, you know, a drug past, or didn't have family, or they were out on the street. You know, there was all these other issues that they had on top of that really didn't make them, I guess, on the radar, being missing people. You know, we had the one pedophile that was killed. There's not a lot of people that would shed a tear about that. So, you know, like, how far are they really going to look into that? I can't speak for police on that.
So Bayou Drams brings up a good point, that the DNA was just the match that says it could be him or a family member. Mm-hmm. And since it was just him and his sister, they focused on him. But that's not real solid when you look at it going to court.
Right.
Good point.
Yes, absolutely. So he just said that these victims had done it because they wanted to make money. So when they asked him at the end, why did you kill these men? You know, why was the point of you murdering them? And he just said he didn't want any witnesses. He had gone to prison one time, but it was for the time he got a fine, and so he was not there for very long. Yeah, they took him in for the drunk driving where he got a fine, so he's only there for like 2 or 3 days.
Oh, okay.
So he was like, I'm not going to go back there. I never want to go to jail. I never want to go to prison, so I'm going to make
2
sure
days.
I don't
I'm going to murder everybody now because I did 2 days for a DUI.
Yeah, he didn't want to go back, you know. So that was his
like
point.
On the bayou.
Yeah, so his motive, what he was doing wasn't to murder these people. It was the assault. It was the binding them. It was the power play of it all. The murder part of it was just because he didn't want to go to prison. That wasn't the motivating factor in what he was doing. It was an end result of because he didn't want to go to prison.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a minute.
Yeah.
No way. No way. I swear, I just didn't plan on killing all those 20-something people. They wanted money, and I just obliged.
Yeah.
No freaking way.
Yeah. You know, people try to come up with any excuse to try to take any kind of heat off themselves. That's just, unfortunately, that's human nature. We're always going to try to put ourselves in a better light and try to push off the guilt and the spotlight off ourselves, especially when it's something negative. So he kind of took that approach to a whole nother level and say, you know, they were here and it just happened.
I would love to be a fly on the wall in the break room with the investigators talking about this, going, okay, he just gave us his DNA. And now he's like, yeah, I killed him. But I mean, can
Yeah.
you imagine the break room and what that would be like?
You know, I've never actually known like a person that does investigations or does, speaks with criminals to see like how they actually feel when they're going through these conversations, because, they have to keep it professional. They have to keep, everything going to keep the facts straight, to get their questions answered. But there has to be something in their gut or in their brain, it has to, so much has to be going on at one time. I've never picked someone's brain, but I have like thousands of questions, because there has to be so many things that goes through their brain, just not only as an investigator but also as an individual
Yeah.
person dealing with
Yeah,
someone of this nature.
absolutely.
So
So,
go ahead.
but he ended up like confessing to all these,
Hmm.
but he didn't get in trouble for all these.
No, so his thing was he confessed to 23, but he said that he would only tell them everything on 8 murders, like every detail, everything about it. He would plead guilty to those 8 murders if you take the death penalty off the table. It's always a bargaining chip with people that do have these many victims. Is unfortunately they do have some power when it comes to that, because if they haven't found all the bodies or if there are missing issues, they do have that as, oh well, I'll tell you everything, but you can't put me to death.
Yeah.
It sucks because you really just want them gone because of
Yeah.
everything they've done and how many people they've hurt. But when there is that many victims and you do think there is
Yeah.
information that can be found, I do see the reason they do it. But
Hmm.
that was his thing, because he did not want to be put to death. He did not want to do that. So as long as they
Well,
agreed to that, then he would plead guilty first degree murder to 8.
and I think that there's a sense of, and we run across this in a lot of our cases where, yeah, we could just go for all of it, but if they're willing to tell us all the stories and we only get this, how much closure that gives to the families. I mean, to actually have someone say, even though you know he did it, but to have someone say, I'm going to tell you what happened. Um, that's, I mean, the closure, I don't know. I get mixed on it. I'm like, I want this person to pay, but I could,
Mm-hmm.
as a family member, I couldn't even imagine. I think I'd take the closure, honestly,
And I
for
think
me.
when you're dealing with multiple families as well. So, like in another case that we talked about, there were victims that were found, and these families knew what happened, and then there was victims where they have never been found, and the only way they were going to know what was going to happen was from this person. Now, is it true? I can't vouch for that, but I do know that as they want that information.
Yeah.
So some families would really just like, just take them out and be done. But at the same time, you want to give another family that lost their family member a chance to have some type of closure and a way to grieve. And not being able to know where they are or know what happened makes that process much,
Right.
much, much worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody has their thoughts on that. It's all our own personal opinion, but I think they handle it the best possible way they can. And at least in most cases, that person at least goes away. They don't come back out. You get the closure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I remember it, it was the little bit of DNA traces that they found on those two bodies, right?
Right. So they had the DNA, and then they also had his confession. So that was part of the plea bargain with him. They did make his bail or his bond at $8 million. It was $1 million per each of the gentlemen that he pled guilty to murdering, to keep him there. He did plead guilty, and he did get 8 life sentences. And he is doing life without the possibility of parole.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
he's still here in the Louisiana State Penitentiary in Angola, Louisiana. So he's still sitting there, unfortunately. And that's where he will be until he perishes
So he
there
purchased from the
from the
parish.
parish. It's, I kind of wish there was more information on the case. I kind of wish there was more information on the victims per se, so we could have done a little bit more deep dive. Unfortunately, because of Hurricane Katrina, a
Yeah.
lot of it got muddled and buried, just because of the enormity of what happened with Hurricane Katrina and everything that was impacted because of that.
Yeah.
And then, it was just like a blurb, like, oh, we caught this guy. He's going to jail for life. So it was like there wasn't a
It was.
huge media blitz about it outside of the state of Louisiana. Like, I know in the state, the media covered it because it's local news. But as far as pushing it out, the only kind of things we were getting outside of Louisiana was about Hurricane Katrina, because that's kind of what people wanted to know. They want to know what was going on and how the efforts were with that.
Well, and I don't, I personally don't think he's been talking much because I could find nothing that he talked about after he was incarcerated.
No, he has
Um,
been actually very quiet, which is, to be honest, strange. A lot of times, once they go away after a few years, they'll start doing some interviews. They'll start,
mhm.
sending letters, and things of that nature. But he hasn't done any of that. He hasn't really
Yeah.
been talking to anybody. I know they've done like a made for TV movie about it, and stuff, but there wasn't a lot on it. I had to dig for podcasts about it,
Yeah.
just to listen to it.
Mhm.
Some of them I stopped listening to pretty much immediately, because when they start citing their sources and they say, oh, well, I watched
I watched
the
that
made for
movie.
TV movie, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
and we're going to move on from that, because it's not a lot of facts. So I
Mhm.
do encourage people to dig in and research if it's something that you're into, but also beware, there's a lot of stuff in there that you're going to have to double check factually, only
Yeah.
because so much stuff can just be put on the internet. Just,
So bubble bath bourbon brings up a good point. So even though I have a lot of, you pay for these places where you can dig into records and stuff, I still had a really hard time. So I do believe that maybe Hurricane Katrina, even though it happened after the fact, there was so much going on, so much mess getting cleaned up. It's very possible that some of those things that we usually have access to just didn't exist or got misplaced or whatever in all that chaos.
no,
It
I'd,
could have
I'd say
happened.
there's some validity to that. There was a whole lot going on during that time frame. Unfortunately, that place took a gigantic hit, which was sad. I mean, Cheech and I went to Louisiana the year before Katrina hit, and so I'm very thankful that we got to see it in all its glory before the hurricane came. We haven't been back since, so maybe we'll take a trip back at some point. But it was a blast when we went before. But I didn't know about what happened with the Bayou Strangler, so it was pretty interesting to read.
So I think the moral of the story is if you live in a place with a lot of rural areas and you're not too bright and you just switch up your MO a lot, you could get a lot done in that period of time.
Well, I mean, you also have to understand, like, with smaller rural counties, they don't have a lot of the police power and investigators. A lot of time, those really small places actually have to bring in police and investigators from the bigger cities, only because they have the resources and the processes to deal with all of that. So, I mean, those little
Yeah.
podunk little police stations that have like three police, and they
Yeah.
don't have a lot of crime and all that, which is great. I mean, nobody wants to live in a high crime area. But when something does happen that is out of scope, basically, they do have to rely on outside
Yeah.
investigators and police to come in.
And
So
they didn't
it's
have
different.
that direct communication that you have today with computers and whatnot.
No, and a lot now is police are actually starting to share information.
Mhm.
A lot of the cases that I've looked at, older cases specifically, where police didn't really share a lot of information with each other. A lot of times they try to keep it close to the vest because they either want to be the ones to solve it or something like that. Egos can get involved. So you don't know how that's going to go. So you want to really keep an open mind if you look at these, that if it does happen in a rural area and it's out of scope, it's not going to probably go that well, and the investigation will probably have to be redone.
Yeah.
And I only say that just because of some of the cases that I have done where it happens in rural counties. There's one that happened in Alaska, and it was really rural, and they had to bring someone in that was like 200 miles away to help with this investigation. So it's crazy out there. So you
Okay.
just have to keep your head on a swivel, and make sure
I
you
just
know what's
have to
going on
say
around you.
this. I've said this really quick. I don't know if you've been watching chat at all, Jen, but chat is blowing the frick up. And I'm like trying to ignore it. But all right, can all my mods and all my friends just play nice? Just be nice. Everybody be nice. Drink another, finish what's in your glass, pour your favorite, and do a cheers. Everybody do a cheers.
Yes, absolutely. Do a cheers. Oh, look, I have some Eagle Rare right here. Do some
Ah,
cheers.
oh my gosh, are we pouring whiskey?
Well, I had the Eagle Rare out anyway, so it's kind of like a double fist kind of deal. Yeah, Eagle Rare, Sazerac Rye cocktail. You know what you can do.
Oh my goodness. So, see, Nate's the first one. He's like, cheers.
Aw,
Let's
thanks,
cheers.
Nate. Cheers.
Okay,
Cheers.
so heads up, we're going to give 10 more minutes for the giveaway. Again, we're giving away this bottle of Henry McKenna. And for those of you that know me partying with a bottle of my Henry McKenna, that's only because I love you and all that you guys have done for our channel. So the way to win, every $5 that you donate towards our channel to keep us running does get you an entry. So the PayPal and Venmo is in the description. The mods have been dropping it. In 10 minutes, we're going to close that out. And wonderful Livewire Whiskey, who's been doing this for us tonight, is going to randomize our number and pick a winner.
Yep, thanks, Mike. Oh, I just want to say after the Women of Whiskeys, Trish with Whiskey Eyes is going on after us, and she's going to run some games and have some lovely banter. So definitely go check that out. It is a good time. Trish is a cool chick, so definitely go check it out.
And that's a fun little stream. Like, it's pretty kicked back. They play some games. They have some drinks. And yeah, definitely go check her out. If I have a mod that can drop her link, that would be great. And then one of us will pin it so everybody could go over there when we're done.
Absolutely.
After we run this giveaway.
Yeah. And I did check with her, so I didn't just throw her out there.
I wasn't sure because I know that she's back. She's full force. A lot of people, can we just talk about how great this community is? A lot of people took, whether it was a week or a month or a little bit of time, in solidarity to one of our community members that can't drink because she's going through some hard stuff medically. And we're all wishing her the best. We're starting to see a few people come back and hang out. And we have a lot of people that are just coming on and having a Diet Coke or a Mountain Dew, but I think it's pretty cool the way this community comes together.
Absolutely. You can still enjoy the company and the conversation.
Absolutely.
Which is always good.
Okay, so
thanks, Lilith and Richie Z, for putting that up there.
Should I join you in Eagle Rare? I think I'm going to join you in Eagle Rare.
Yeah.
It's hiding over here. Okay, so those of you that did not make our wonderful cocktail, please go check out that video, because I have to say, this is probably one of my favorite cocktails that we have done on this show. I think you did a really good job in picking this, Jen. Check it out. If you're not a cocktail person, make it for your friend who is. But tell me what you're drinking. What are you guys drinking? What is this? Tim Robertson, your bottle of Henry McKenna was bottled on 4/1/2019, April Fool's bottle.
That's pretty cool.
This one was 8/28 of 2009. So it might have been on my shelf for a minute.
Yeah, it's all right. It doesn't go bad.
I love the fact, can I just say this? Because I know that Nancy was saying this is her first time here. I love that she has a passion for the whole process of criminals and how you get to them, and all of it. It seems like she's kind of like you, Jen, like really into figuring out how, when, why, let's get them kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I was definitely the why kid growing up. I always want to know why. I like to understand what's going on and why things happen the way they do. Some unfortunately, like human nature, you can't always get those black and white kind of answers. So I think it kind of helps to look at things that way. I like to definitely dig in and see all the facts and where we can go.
Well, and I think that for me, like you enjoy how did we get there? How did we catch them? How are we going to catch the ones we didn't catch? That kind of thing. For me, I like the background part. Like, how did we get here? Was this person born this way? Did something happen to them? Was it a combination of both? And that's why what I love about our dynamic is you get more into the scientific piece and the investigation. I'm more like, why, what,
Right.
how,
Hmm.
what, and it's just kind of it's great. I like to dig into that whole mental thing, which probably isn't that good for me, but
Well, it's
probably not that good for William,
well, the
actually.
human nature and the human brain is amazing. It can do so many things. You can learn so many things and play instruments, you can do surgery, you can blend whiskey, you can open businesses. There's so many things that your brain can give you, and then you can see all of the bad things that happen when someone's
Hmm.
brain isn't working quite properly. So to be able to see what those differences are, I think is a really good thing to look for. The problem with that is we don't really look at it until after the fact, right? So it's always a reactionary issue. So we do brain scans, we look at how they work and all that after the fact. But when you see a profile of, oh, they had 6 head injuries and they were abused as a child, and they had all of these things come up, and they abused animals, and so it kind of looked like it was setting them up for something very bad to happen in their future. But at the same time, it's like, are you going to catch that soon enough? And because those situations happen so often to other individuals that
Yeah.
don't turn out to be murderers and criminals, you really have to look at the, I guess, the brain chemistry and the individual of how
Yeah.
you deal with the situation that you're in. How do you cope with that? Do you look at it as a worst case scenario and you deal with it as, I'm going to take it out on the whole world and, screw it, I'm going to burn it down? Or do you take it as, yeah, I had a really shitty upbringing, but I'm going to make sure I do the best that I can and give back to the community and make sure that no person goes through that? So I think there's two separate issues that you can look at when you're trying to figure out the nature nurture thing and
Yeah,
how they were brought
absolutely.
in.
Yeah. Um, So yeah, wondering about the minds of the worst, or yeah, absolutely. I mean, God, it's like the chicken or the egg in that's kind of how I look at it. Um, they were talking about our new merch site. Yes. Apparently my husband thinks we need more men's stuff on there. We're in the
We're working
process
on
of
it.
moving all our stuff. Yes, I need
We're working on
more
that.
ideas. I'm awful at merch. Our merch is cool, but I need some stuff for guys. If you guys got
Yeah,
ideas, my patrons are starting to throw some ideas out. So let's get this shit rolling.
definitely. If anyone, if you have any ideas on what you would like to see on merch or how you would like things to be worded on merch or any design ideas, definitely email us and let us take a look. We're definitely open to ideas and all of that and art, so definitely hit us up because we're looking at that.
BK says, Jen A rocks.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Glad you're here, BK. Thanks for
Yeah,
joining.
absolutely.
And then we have, Nancy, I agree. It's like I was saying, nature, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's nature and nurture. I mean, lack of nurture plus the nature. I don't know that it's one or the other.
And that's the issue in that, because it's not black and white, because someone that can be in the same upbringing as a person that ends up committing murder but they end up being like a doctor, and then they go to, an impoverished country, and they, set up shop and they do wonderful things for a community, and they made something amazing out of their life, even though it didn't start there. So it's always going to be based on the individual. And unfortunately, we can't put different requirements on every individual. Like, okay, you grew up in a trailer park and your parents beat you, so you have a higher tendency of becoming a criminal, so we're going to bucket you here. Because you can't do that, because someone that lives right next door to them in the same area going through the same thing could end up being your surgeon in 15 years. And you don't know your surgeon's upbringing. You just walk in and be like, hell yeah, my surgeon went to college. They're good to go. I'm going to go through this and come out golden. But you don't know what brought them to that point. So it's very hard to kind of nail it down to be like, it's going to be this type of person that's going to create these. Now, is it a higher tendency? I believe so. Because it is hard to bring yourself out of those types of situations and build it to be something positive.
Yeah.
That's a very, very hard feat to do. So I do think there may be a higher risk attached to it, maybe on that lifestyle or how that's brought up. Yeah. But I think it's up to the individual, and how they cope and move on is that piece of it. And it's going to be up to the individual. So it's very hard to bucket people on that aspect.
Okay, great conversation, but I just need to catch up on chat for a minute. So I'm seeing a lot of stuff about leggings. I do believe, so Bubble Bath, I saw you talking about it. Was that you that won our Women of Whiskey's leggings? Was that you? Because if so, I know we decided to maybe give them to someone else, but if you could put those on for a minute and take a little picture,
that would be fantastic. I would love it. Leggings are great.
However, I'm pretty sure, and a couple of people have brought this up, pretty sure Livewire Whiskies is supposed to be doing some legging modeling soon. Was that a thing? Do I remember that right? That we're going to see some fitness pants on our guys?
That'd be, I'm ready. I want to see this.
Pretty sure. Oh, so Bubble Bath did not win the leggings. I'll have to go back and look. Someone won the leggings at the Mega Merch giveaway for our fundraiser. I really need to look and see who that was, because it made me so very happy.
That's awesome.
Because it was a man. Independent Joe says it wasn't him, but he really wants them.
You can rock them, Joe.
There was a couple. There was. Mark put our rocks glass in the dishwasher and it survived. I should hope so. Thanks for checking it out. Nancy Fraley was saying how, yes, people from the similar backgrounds, no, they don't always turn out the same. I mean, you can take one child who had two parents, the Cleavers. I don't know if you should use Cleavers when we're talking about murder, but anyway, and they have one kid that goes off to university and becomes very successful, and the other kid that is strangling people in a bayou. I mean, I don't know.
But you also have to look at it.
There's a lot in play.
We have to look at it as now. There's a case I'm gonna send you. So there's also people that are extremely successful and who become doctors and, have the lifestyle that a lot of people think, the 6-7 figures, the boat, the mansion, all this stuff of being a doctor. And they end up taking people out in their practice. And only because it's a feeling, it's like a God feeling almost. Like, I have all of this power. I can make this person live or die because this is at my hand because I'm helping them. So you can look at it as, hey, this person had a great upbringing. They became a doctor. Look at all of this kudos. But in the background, they're doing the same crap that the person that we're looking at that grew up in the trailer park in the bayou. So there's so many things and outliers out there that we just don't know, like human compassion, the way the human brain works, how people can compartmentalize and turn off emotion at all and completely disassociate themselves from the actions that they're doing. So when that goes on, they don't understand the full scope of what they're doing because they don't have that emotional connection to the action that they're doing. So they don't have that compassion. They don't feel like I am taking a person out. They don't think of that. So it's just solely what they're into. So they can just keep things separate and not be into it emotionally. So there's just a lot that we could talk about. The nature nurture thing is an enormous conversation that can go on for a very long time because there are so many facets to it.
It's okay, so Mike, we're going to cut off the giveaway. Thank you everyone that donated to our channel. When you're a small channel, every little bit helps. But you know what helps just as much, and it doesn't cost you anything? If you could just jump out of live chat and hit the like button. When you're new like us and you haven't hit all those goals that you're supposed to, that like button just helps us a lot. It only takes a second. Jump out. We'll wait. It's okay.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it.
If you're enjoying what we're doing today, please remember to subscribe and hit the notification buttons. It'll let you know when we're going live. You can choose whether or not you join us, but just hit the subscribe and the notification. That'd be awesome too.
Absolutely.
We are here every Wednesday. Mike's going to get us a number. We're going to give away a Henry McKenna. Meanwhile, we are going to be putting up in our Patreon this week 4 more cases for the patrons to vote on to decide what we're going to do next month on the 4th Wednesday of March. And then Jen's going to give you 2 cocktails to vote on as well. So patrons, thank you so much for making your choices. So far, you haven't let us down. And then what else is coming up? Oh, we've got Kira from the Shelf Turds coming on the 3rd week of March. I will not be here, so she's going to fill my very big shoes. No, not really. Kira's like, oh, so big.
It'll be fun.
Personality. I don't know what her and Jen have planned. I really hope it's not that much fun because then I'm going to have the FOMO thing going on. But I'm sure it'll be great. So that's the 3rd week of March. And then for the month of March is Women's History Month. We are going to do a stream sometime in March that's on the Women's Organization of National Prohibition Repeal.
Ah, good job.
And basically during the prohibition, some women got together and they're like, screw this stuff. Let's get the 18th Amendment repealed. And it's a whole thing. So I'm excited to dive into that.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's see. I don't see anything yet on the numbers. Mike's probably trying to catch up with all those last minute entries. Scott Pigsley nailed it.
Yeah, you did. You did.
That was hard. I'm not gonna lie.
I would have struggled through that worse. So,
also, I do have to say, we've both been working on content now that we're just kind of getting our groove going. It's great that y'all are hanging out with us. We appreciate your support. More than that, though, I appreciate you just hanging out with us.
Yeah, it's definitely a blast.
There's nothing worse than just sitting here, just me and Jen talking to each other. That is funny as shit. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I love you, Jen, but you know.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay. So we are numbers 1 through 32. You know what, Jen? It's been a minute. Why don't you pick a number and we will have him randomize it? 1 through 32.
13.
13, Mike. Can you randomize and tell us what number 13 is? Number 13 is going to win this bottle of Henry McKenna. All of you that did win something from the CASA Children's Advocates fundraiser, you should have all received your items by now. If not, please email me at womenofwhiskies@gmail.com. Let me know so I can just kind of dig in. I know there was a couple of addresses that maybe a number was missing off of. I think we got that sorted out in time. So if for some reason you haven't received something, let me know so we can make it right. We can get it handled. Okay. Blue Bear Bourbon. I don't know that I've seen you in here before. I'm so glad you're here, though. Have I just missed your name? Have you been here all along? Are you the friend I didn't know about?
Oh, well, congrats.
Oh,
Oh.
Livewire, I don't want him to win. Pick again. It's Doug H. Doug H, congratulations on winning a bottle of Henry McKenna. Cheers to you.
Absolutely.
Please email us at womenofwhiskies@gmail.com so that we can get your contact information and get this bottle hand delivered to you in time for you to crack it and enjoy it.
Absolutely. Congrats, Doug.
So, I don't know. Do we have any other announcements, Jen? I don't know.
No. Nope. Kara will be here, and then Adriana's coming on the Criminals and Cocktails next
Yes.
month.
So whatever, and patrons, think about this. When you vote on the next case, Adriana from Whiskey Mountains is going to be here.
Yes.
Do you really want to go down those rabbit holes with her? I mean, let's think
I do.
about it.
I love it. I love it.
I do too. Actually, I do. So, anyway, yes. So for our next Criminals Cocktails in March, Adriana from Whiskey Mountains will be here. If anybody has a link for her, please drop it in there. That is a girl, woman. I say girl because she's a half-inch shorter than me. I love it. Anyway, she goes hiking, beautiful views, does great reviews, excellent content. Go check out her channel. Okay. Thank you so much. Oh, we have Whiskey Eyes. I'm going to.
Yes. Yep. Trish is up next with some games and some banter, so definitely check her out. It'll be a good time.
Do I not know how to pin? Apparently, I don't know how to pin anything. Jen, do you know how to pin something?
No.
All right.
Give me a second. Let me figure it out.
All right. See, we're learning. We still don't have this shit down. All right, everybody, I appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. Please, you saw it, it's in the chat. Go check out Trish, play some games, drink some whiskey, keep this party going. Please don't forget that there is no wrong way to drink your whiskey. Share it with your friends. Drink it how you like it. And we will see you next Wednesday on Women of Whiskeys.
Absolutely.
Cheers, all.
Cheers, everyone.